Hello, kia ora, and welcome to the Creative Matters podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with artists from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Jakic. Good morning and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm speaking with Jae Frew. Jae is a contemporary portrait photographer who was based in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland for a very long time and now lives north of Auckland in Mahurangi. Jae's commercial career spans over 30 years, and the highly respected and sought-after photographer lists prime ministers, heads of state, TV personalities, corporate CEOs, film and television actors, and prominent sports people among his subjects. With time and space to pursue his own photographic projects during the 2020 and 2021 COVID lockdowns, Jae began exploring a more personal side to his practice, and Manu Kōingo, Birds of Yearning, was formed. A concept that had been pressing on his mind for many, many years to create a series of works that speaks to and engages with the interests of his youth while raising awareness of Aotearoa's fragile and diminishing bird life. We talk about Jae's commercial photography and some of the amazing New Zealanders he has photographed, such as Jacinda Adern, Sir Edmund and Dame Kiri Kanawa. We go deep into Manu Kōingo, Birds of Yearning, how he developed this more personal side of his photographic practice and the shows he's had since, and why he likes to construct the native wood frames for each of the works. Jae talks about his upcoming solo show at Parnell Gallery, which is going to be incredible, and that opens on April the 4th in Auckland and runs till April the 21st, 2024. Calling Jae Frew in Mahurangi. Good morning, Jae.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good.
Nice to see you and lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for being on the Creative Matters podcast.
My pleasure.
I really enjoyed looking at your beautiful photography and I can't wait to hear all about it. So can you tell us maybe something about your childhood and where it all began?
Well, I kind of started late, really, in photography. I was born and raised in Christchurch. I've got an older brother, older sister, and a twin brother. And we moved up to Tauranga, and so that's kind of where I effectively grew up, and that's kind of where my interest in photography began when I was, I think, probably later years of my schooling, and then my father is a cabinet maker by trade, and that's part of this story later on, but he's saying, "Oh no, boy, you need a trade. You need a trade when you leave school." So I had this sort of interest in electronics and computers. So that was all kind of starting to happen in sort of mid '80s, and so I ended up doing an electronics apprenticeship with a company when I left school. Kind of walked straight in, got an apprenticeship, and hated it. Absolutely hated it. Was terrible at it. I used to give myself electric shocks all the time. My boss was an alcoholic. It was pretty awful. My colleagues were lovely, but it wasn't a great start to my kind of formative career, as it were. So I ended up leaving really before I'd finished. But then ended up moving to, I took kind of a year off, did some travel around a little bit, New Zealand, and met some people, and then ended up moving to Auckland and this is ironically, this is when TV3 was just starting to make to enter into the world of television, the new channel, the new exciting channel, and again walked straight into a job with them. And so previous to that, I worked for a film production company, and then I was made redundant because the company folded. And then walked straight into TV3 and was there for a few years. Did facilities management and editing. Did some editing, videotape editing. But all the way along, photography was kind of a thing, sort of creative outlet. And then with TV3, there was a publicity department that used to take photographs of their stars and their celebrities and programming and that sort of thing. And the person that was doing that in the office was leaving, so I went up to the manager and said, "Hey, just give me a go. If you don't like what I do, you don't have to. We can walk away." But that was sort of the beginning, and I really never looked back from there. I started taking photographs for TV3 as a freelancer. I was doing weddings in the weekends, that sort of thing, and then then sort of went sort of full time. Picked up a job with a magazine, so it all kind of sort of snowballed and I started to sort of build a career and a bit of a name.
That's amazing, isn't it? Was it ever, as when you were younger, before you were into this kind of thing, was it ever something that you expected you'd do?
I kind of did. I kind of knew that I really wanted to make this work, and I really wanted to be a photographer, and so that was kind of always in the back of my mind as a sort of picture. I didn't know the path that would have been that I took to get there, but it was it's one of those things. If you wanted something bad enough, you just work really hard to make it happen. And, but it is all about opportunity and the people you meet and the time that you're doing that. And so some wonderful supportive people that gave me kind of those opportunities. So always grateful to them.
That's so amazing, isn't it? And you've been working as a photographer in this kind of world of magazine and advertising and TV for 30 years, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is a long time. It's an amazing career. And you must have met so many interesting people. You've photographed people like Jacinda Adern, and I love the way you took those photographs of her. They are really beautiful, and it's almost like you capture something that other photographers don't capture with, so-called important people and famous people. You sort of bring something else to the photograph. How do you approach working with these kind of people?
Well, for the likes of, if we take Jacinda as an example, her day-to-day is bilateral talks with, people, and mixed up with, meeting after meeting and schedules and phone calls. And so her thing is, you pull away from that, and she's basically playing dress-ups with us. This is for a magazine interview and article. And so I think she enjoyed, I hope she did, but I'm assuming she enjoyed the process but to take her out of that, and I kind of just watch these people quite carefully, and then when they're in my world, I watch them again and sort of see how comfortable they are. And I mean, I'm not asking them to do anything, obviously, that they don't want to do. I approach it very gently. I'll make suggestions, and then if they say, "Oh, let's do this," I said, "Great, let's have some fun with it." And it is all about having fun and giving that person, the experience that they will enjoy. So I want them to walk away from our photo shoots having enjoyed that experience and with a smile on your face, and that just doesn't go for the likes of Jacinda. It could be a model shoot or someone who has a magazine article, or anyone that's in front of my camera is I feel if someone was going to take my photograph, that's the experience that I would like to walk away from that experience having enjoyed it, and even maybe learn something about myself, or so.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and you can really see that in your photographs. And do you have a lot of say? Do you like to have a lot of say on how, what the background is, or where you're working, or what the people are wearing? I guess that's with magazines, somebody else takes care of that side of it.
Yeah.
But how much influence do you have on how the shoot actually
Yeah,
looks?
I mean, we last week we did a lovely shoot with Dame Kiri Kanawa, because she's turning 80, or she turned 80 on Wednesday, and she is just a delight to photograph. And so she looks so wonderful. And at 80, she's sharp. She's just, yeah, we have so much fun. And we've got this lovely team that work together. Sonia's the stylist, Jae's the makeup, and Grant does her hair, and Marilyn, the editor, pulls it all together. And we have so much fun, and the styling is all handled by Marilyn and Sonia. They work together, but we know the location, so we kind of can work that in with what she's wearing, and we want to sort of she's the closest thing we've got to royalty, really.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we put her in these lovely gowns, and we're in this beautiful home, and yeah, the colours really work well, and she feels comfortable in that. That's our job. We want to make her feel comfortable, and she's trying things on. Some things didn't work, but others did. And there was a particular outfit she put on, and she's, "Oh, I love this. Let's go over here and put it against that." So she's making suggestions. I'm making suggestions, and we're working together and having so much fun. And the result was brilliant. We got some lovely images, and she walked away happy, and we were all happy, and it was just a lovely day and a lovely experience for all involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Many photographers work quite solo, and it's all about them and making all the decisions. So it must be quite lovely for you to be part of a team.
Yeah, I prefer to have a collaboration. I think, obviously my job is to get the images sharp and to light them well. But everything else is part of that process. I need that, to pull it all together. And yeah, I don't get that, photographers that tell their stylists to stand in the corner, or to leave the room. Everyone must leave the room, so they can have this alone time. But it's a team effort.
Yeah.
To bring that together, and that's I think it's selfish to sort of take the glory for it when there's so many other people involved.
Yeah.
You know, in that particular shoot, you know, obviously there's other shoots that are just me, but yeah, as far as that sort of thing goes, I've always sort of tried to have it as a team process. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great, I think. And you must have so many amazing stories of your experiences with people that a lot of people around the world, and particularly in New Zealand, really identify with. Have you got any stories you'd like to share with us?
Probably one of my favorite shoots was with Sir Edmund Hillary. He was doing I think a TV show about his life. This obviously years ago, but he used to live in Glenbrook, and he used to take the Glenbrook train into the college, into school, boys' grammar, every day. And so we were kind of following his kind of daily kind of route that he would take from the train, you know, from his house to the train station, and this is with Tom Scott, who was kind of interviewing him, and then the film crew as well. And yeah, it was so great. I got to spend a whole day with Sir Edmund Hillary, and we were walking through boys' grammar and the main sort of the grand hallway or whatever, and then we had all the shots of the images of the masters on, you know, past and present. And he kind of went up to one of them and sort of pointed his finger at one of them. He said, "Oh, that guy caned me." And I went, "Oh, tell me the story." And so he was telling me the story that he, you know, something happened. It wasn't his fault, and he got caned, and he missed the train to go home, and he ended up getting home. And his father said, "You know, what's going on?" And he told him the story. And his father was so cross that he came with him the next day back into school and confronted the teacher, which I thought, well, and those sort of times you did just tell your son to, you know, shape up. But
Yeah.
anyway, he completely backed him up, and yeah, so it was a cool story. And then we were in Pukekohe for lunch, and we decided we'd go to McDonald's for lunch. Sir Edmund Hillary and Tom Scott.
Wow.
And we're standing in the queue for lunch, and he went up to the counter and ordered it, and we sat down, and we got ours, and we got all sat down, and he was kind of doing a bit of a grin. And I said, "Oh, what's so funny?" And he looked up and said, "I got a freebie." Manager recognised him.
Oh, that's so gorgeous.
And a
How
sweet.
amazing.
Yeah, but what a lovely, gracious man.
Yes.
He would always, you know, people would come up to him and get him to sign the $5 note, and he would always do that. Yeah, so
Yeah, one of the great gentlemen of New Zealand history,
yeah,
really.
yeah. So it was a pleasure to have pleasure to have spent the day with him. But yeah, there's been so many stories like that, and also just ordinary New Zealanders that have amazing stories, and yeah, to tell. Yeah,
Such a privilege.
it's been a privilege and an honour to do this. Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's just, you must have just led such a rich life, you know, to be doing something that you love with your photography, but then to have that other element must be so inspiring and motivating for you.
yeah. I think I'm one of those people that just can't stand still. Well, not so much stand still, but I always want to try new stuff, or do it a different way, or be creative. There has to be sort of an outlet for me, no matter what it is, whether it's photography or building something or creating something. I'm a projects-based person, and if I don't have something on the go, I get very anxious.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm sure many of our listeners understand what you're saying.
I've had you know, I say it's sort of a privilege to photograph these people and work with, some great clients. But I've had, in terms of my commercial work, I have had, wonderful clients through the years, super loyal, really super loyal. And, I've still got ones that I've had for 20 years. And, we've built up, friendships, and we've watched each other's kids grow up and sort of been through the highs and lows of business together. And so it's about the relationships for me. It's not about how many people I've got on my client base. It's about, the relationships that I have with not only the people that I photograph, but the people that basically employ me.
Yeah, yeah. And I imagine you have so many amazing connections with people. How do you actually approach your photography, and what cameras do you use? And are you using a lot of digital tricks and techniques, or are you more of a traditional photographer?
In terms of my, commercial work, it's just all digital, and there's some retouching involved with some of it. Some clients prefer more, others less, but I don't sort of retouch it so it's unrecognizable. It's more about a lot of it's just about geometrics and trying to get images straight and true, and maybe clean up a bit of skin or hairlines or whatever, but that's on the fashion side of things. But it's a style that photographers have, and they sort of recognise for a particular style. When I was doing lots of production work for like TV dramas and that sort of thing for South Pacific Pictures, I had a certain style that they liked, and we would create these cast shoots and cast sort of hero images, and that there's again a lot of work and a lot of planning that goes into those because there's so many people involved. But because of the introduction of digital, we were able to split the shooting days up. We'd shoot almost each of them separately and put them, compile them together in one shot later on. And so, there's, that sort of technique has been really helpful in terms of the technology. And because I guess my background is very technical with how I started out, when I left school, I've always been able to adopt that sort of technology and really run with it. I was one of the first photographers to do digital work for production, like TV productions and that sort of thing, and set that whole system up. So it was, that's a big part of, that's a big part of the exciting part of my work is, working with the technology and embracing it. So, I haven't got I've got the latest cameras, but, I'm not, if a new one comes out, I'm not the first in line to get the new one. I work with what I've got. Work with the tools that work for, that I can work with and that work for me. So,
and over that 30 years, you must have seen so many changes in not only technology, but approaches and the different ways people work and that kind of thing throughout your career.
I mean, people are the same. It's the trends that change, So if you can kind of adopt the changes and the technology is kind of sort of kind of separate, but they're all kind of intertwined. You're using them on this, in the same on the same day, the same way. But but I've always loved that new technology, and I've always been able to work with it.
Which must be really, really motivating for you, that you're sort of always learning and evolving and growing with the profession.
Yeah. Nothing stays the same for long, and so if you're able to evolve and try new techniques and new things. And, with the support of, obviously, the support of your clients, then, that's what makes it exciting. That's what gets you up in the morning.
That's so great. Now, in 2020, you had a huge turn really in your career, I guess, with COVID and lockdown. So obviously the kind of work that you do couldn't really happen over that time. And that is when you discovered a new focus for your photography. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, with COVID, obviously, I pretty much my work dried up overnight because obviously my work is, it involves people and being in front of people and being with groups of people. So no one could work, or no one, I can't do my work remotely.
No.
So I need to have subject matters. So yeah, that pretty much stopped. So I was kind of forced, like many, to kind of think about what's next. If this is going to carry on, and no one knew really how long we would be in lockdown, how long this was going to go on for. What does the future look like? And it was quite good because it was leading up to 2020. It was such a busy time. I just kind of felt that everyone was rushing around. There was, the advantage of technology is that it makes things easier, but it also speeds things up. So you can do more in less time. And then your clients or whoever you're involved in with, that becomes the expectation that, you can do it faster. We can get more stuff done. But it's sort of a two-edged sword because you're still working hard and you're still and it's sort of rushing around. And as a creative, that sort of tends to erode some of your creative ability. And I think leading up to that, and obviously this is in hindsight respectively, but it meant that I was so busy and so rushed and so not sort of burnt out, but kind of heading that way.
Yeah.
And so when lockdown happened, it was kind of, actually, this is quite nice. We get to stay home with the family and the dog. The dog's loving it because I'm home all day, and I can do things around the house and do some gardening and just sort of see what happens. And so it meant that I was able to sort of sit down and go, well, what is it that I really would like to do? If I had the time, not so much the money, but just the time to do what I need, what I'd like to do. And so it kind of forced me to think about, even going right back into my childhood. Like when I was growing up, I had this love and affinity for native birds, and I used to have. My brother and I had a bird aviary, and we used to breed birds for pocket money. And I used to sit there for hours just watching them and behave in the different breeds that we had. And so I love that, and then mixed with kind of the conservation part of it, and then photography, and then my dad, like I said earlier, was a cabinet maker, and he worked from home all his all my growing up anyway. And I used to be under his feet in his workshop for all holidays and after school, and he taught me how to build furniture. And so tying all that together, I thought I could take photographs of birds and put them in frames and maybe do an exhibition. And that's something I always wanted to do. I wanted to exhibit some work, but I didn't have a subject matter.
And you didn't want to use people?
No, I didn't want to use people. I've got a friend of mine who's in the art world, and he used to sort of create exhibitions for people, and he said, "Oh, let's do an exhibition," and I go, "Yeah, I'd love to, but I just don't have a subject matter." Right? Yeah, so it could have been on. I didn't want to use the people I photographed because that's putting people in photographs, that kind of it would have made me too self-conscious, and probably them, and which would make me even more self-conscious because they'd be uncomfortable. But anyway, birds it was, and but then I had to kind of work out, how do I capture these birds, photograph them. But I loved the work of, and this has been quite influential in my style, is of Annie Leibovitz and the old masters, the Rembrandts and what have you, who basically use one light source. If you Google Rembrandt's studio, he's got this one big room with one huge big light source window coming from one side, and his eagles set up 90 degrees to that. So he gets this lovely light source right across the face, and it creates this sort of shadow, which is called the Rembrandt lighting because it's so distinctive. But I thought, well, that's how I could possibly light these birds, but they would have to be dead to do that.
Not moving.
So I approached Te Papa initially in Wellington, and told them what I wanted to do. They took a little bit of convincing, but they in the end became my biggest support.
That's amazing.
They've been fantastic.
And I guess your career, because you have that career behind you, that sort of made it easier for Te Papa to kind of trust you and value what you're doing.
I was able to use my career as 30 years in the industry sort of thing. But I mean, I think it was more about the story that I wanted to tell. And a big part of museums is the conservation and just kind of this building awareness around the plight of these amazing creatures that we have or don't have anymore. That was the story I was wanting to tell, and I was able to then take that story to Canterbury Museum and Auckland Museum, who again have been wonderfully supportive. And so I was able to go into these institutions and photograph, under guidance, under strict protocol, take all my lighting and cameras in there and set it all up.
How amazing! And is that because it was COVID times? Did you start working towards that in 2020, and then sort of when the lockdowns were removed, you managed to get into the museum?
We had a couple of false starts with it because there was obviously museums have very strict protocols as to who comes in and out. There was quite a lot of waiting and for the right time. Yeah. But once those lockdowns were lifted, yeah, we're able to get in and start the work. Yeah,
Oh, that's so incredible. And I mean, there's just so much to talk about, so much to unpack here. It's really interesting. I mean, I find it quite interesting that you have a practice or a career that is so sort of so full on with people and so sort of active and moving and sort of evolving and changing, and then working with these dead birds, as you say, and creating like a sort of still life work in a way. It's
yeah,
really quite a
yeah,
different final result and a different process, isn't it?
yeah. I know, and I mean the photography is again was I know that stuff. I can do that. So that box I can tick. But the the other part of it, and sort of dealing with um, a art gallery, that's all new to me. All that kind of the art world, that whole thing is new and foreign. So I've had the wonderful guidance of the team at Parnell Gallery and then Queenstown Art Bay down there, and they've been wonderful. Particularly Parnell, they just because they were my first, and they've we've formed a lovely relationship, and that's kind of how I wanted it as well. And I think at that time they wanted to build sort of a good relationships with their artists, but this is all new to me. This whole new thing. So that's been a learning curve for me, and which again that's something that I enjoy doing. It's a new thing, so that helps further my enjoyment in the whole thing.
Yeah,
And so photography's ticked. We can say the gallery, that's all good. And then pulling it all together, building the frames. So having to source the right timber. It's all native and sort of endangered species of timber, and it's all repurposed. So the timber's all out of old houses or buildings, or it's felled naturally. So none of it's sort of new. So I've had to dig nails out of it and all that sort of thing. So, and then what's been lovely is being able to honor my father by making these, using the skills that he's taught me, making these frames, and the big chunky wooden frames. So there's maybe 5 or 6 different moldings that I've machined, put together, and mitered them all up, glued them all up, clamped them all up. Yeah, they're all sort of.
And that's such a lovely addition to the photographs, is to have another thing that you've made and that has come from sort of really how you were raised, and as
Yeah,
you say, honoring your dad, which is really beautiful.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
just bring a sort of unique individual look to these photographs.
yeah. And they do sort of raise the kind of the whole look of the images to kind of this ancestral look, this kind of old school museum
Yeah.
masters look, and they look incredible on they're big pieces, and so they look incredible on dark walls or in darker houses or whatever.
Yeah. And they are very much like that, and they remind me of Goldie's works and
Yeah,
Indawa even,
yeah,
and yeah, they have that sort of mighty uh historical kind of feel about them, don't they?
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah, and they are quite dark. I mean, the frames are dark, and often the backgrounds are quite dark in your photographs, and then the bird is kind of highlighted. Although sometimes in the photographs, the bird isn't really super lit up, is it?
No, no. I mean, and that's all part of the kind of the story of the bird as well. Um, the backgrounds, a lot of the backgrounds are photographs that I've taken and layered with other textures of Victorian wallpaper. So that's kind of another sort of element of the story of the, of particularly the huia and the birds that are extinct. That their plight and how they got there, and
Mm. So they're quite narrative works in a way, aren't they?
yeah. Each of them tell a story. Each of them have the profile, the frame, the timber that is all kind of matched to the particular bird.
Mm. And do you express that to the audience or to the viewer in any way, or is it just for them to work out?
Yeah, I mean the galleries do a wonderful job of creating these writing up these stories, and but I'll add things to it that I discover along the way, and that gets sort of that filters through. But essentially, it is a genuine story. About my childhood and my dad, and the love and affinity I have for the birds, and the conservation part of it is really important to me. So, put all that together. I think people enjoy that. People embrace it, and hopefully they'll enjoy hanging them on their walls.
Yeah, most definitely. It is. It seems like a very personal collection, which comes through, and it
Mm.
is something unique, I think. I mean, we do have a lot of New Zealand artists representing birds in their work, but this feels like something different and um, something very powerful. They've got a real power about them, haven't they?
Mm. Yeah, I think if it was just a photograph of a bird, then um, it'd be different. It's because of the frame and the work that goes into that. I mean, they take over a week to make, and um, yeah, I think adding all of those elements together and
Mm.
creating a story, that's what I think that's what people will enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you have an edition, a limited edition of only five of each of these works, and then also two artist proofs. So can
Yeah.
you talk us through the artist proof idea and how that works?
Well, yeah, artist proofs are pretty much the same image or the same thing. It's just another kind of element. If I think if the I mean, you could just keep saying, "Oh, there's another artist proof. There's another artist proof," but they're usually the first one that before you put the edition out. So I've got a couple in my studio that are they were very early on works that I've called artist proofs because there's maybe something slightly different to the frame or what have you, but essentially the image is the same. I go through, I'll do prints and test proofs of these works before I get them printed large form in the large format, and sometimes they haven't worked out, so they get destroyed. But yeah, the artist proof is just sort of another kind of addition, really. But for me, it's the earlier one rather than just creating another one. Yeah.
Mm. If somebody buys an edition, and obviously they've seen it in the frame, do you then create an identical frame for
Yeah.
that print?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got all the profiles in my workshop of each of the frames. But I mean, they're essentially the same profile, but because of the nature of the timber, um, it might be slightly different, or the profile might be slightly, So that's what makes them bespoke. That's what makes them unique.
Yeah, which is lovely. And
Yeah.
it's so lovely to have a photographer making his own frames, which is probably quite an unusual connection.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anyone else that does this, but I'm sure there are.
Mm. Yeah, no, well, who knows? But
Yeah.
it's almost like you know, you're expressing yourself creatively through two different mediums and bringing them together, which is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Mm.
And do you actually get them painted by somebody, the frames?
I do that. Yeah.
Do that too.
They're stained rather than painted. Yeah.
Right.
Multiple layers of stain, wax. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So it gives
beautiful.
them that kind of real kind of antique look
Yeah.
rather than just spray painting them. We've got a texture and a yeah.
Mm. And how do you source your Victorian wallpapers?
I've found in historic homes, I've photographed walls in historic homes, and I had some friends with some old wallpaper, and yeah.
And do you take the photograph and then place it behind the bird in the museum, or how does
No,
that
no,
process work?
I photograph because yeah, I can't sort of take too much equipment into the museums. I've got to be quite um, careful what I take in, and I don't want to, have too much gear in there because it's just makes it easier and quicker. And so I have a just a canvas grey background that I photograph them against, and then I work in Photoshop later on to strip that out and put backgrounds behind them.
Mm. Oh,
Mm.
they're really stunning. So you have had two solo exhibitions before, and this is your third one.
Yeah, there's 11 new works for this one. We're back at Parnell. Yeah, so yeah, 11 new works, and
Mm.
the name Manu Kōingo, which translates to birds of yearning. I've kept that name for this exhibition. I think it's such a strong name, and if you allow me just to explain to you how that name came about. Um, I was working in publicity a few years back, just before COVID, and this is when I first had the idea of doing this exhibition, and I was photographing Nahoya Te Awe Kotaku, who is she's a Māori academic, and in the art world, she was doing a TV program around Māori or exhibitions or artworks outside, outdoor exhibitions and around the country, installations. And I was doing photographs for the show, and I asked her producer whether or not I could just ask her about, talk to her about my project, and he kind of went, see how the shoot goes. And so the shoot went really well, and I asked her if I could email her about this idea that I had, and she was lovely, and she emailed me back and said, because I'd sent her some initial images of the birds and what I was doing, and she emailed me back and said, I've got a name for you, and this is Manu Kōingo, Birds of Yearning. And it was so special that she was able to give me this name and for me to use it. And so I've sort of continued to use this for this exhibition at least.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that she'll get to this when she lives down country. But so
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it, to have that endorsement and to be able to
yeah,
use a word or a title in Te Reo in Māori
yeah,
that has been kind of blessed and approved by
yeah,
a Māori
yeah.
person is important.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be using it without that permission, but
Yeah.
it just such Māori have such beautiful poetic way of expressing in such a short,
Mm.
2 words, 3 words,
Yeah, that really
what
works.
the whole exhibition is about. That we yearn for these birds. We're about their plight, the ones we've lost, and let's look after the ones we have, left,
Mm.
and just that whole awareness. So, yeah, very, very special.
Yeah, that's very special. And the
Mm.
yearning is almost sort of could be seen as referring also to your yearning of that connection that you had with your
Yeah,
dad and
yeah.
with your childhood love of birds,
Mm. Yeah,
which
it's
is, yeah,
got a
it's
lovely
special.
tie-in, and yeah, so very cool.
It's so cool, and it feels like a deeply personal exhibition. So that's on at Parnell Gallery, Manu Kōingo. You have a beautiful hero shot of 7 ruru, which is the New Zealand native owl, which is really incredible. And I just love the expressions on their faces. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, obviously you don't get 7 ruru perched together looking at camera, so that's uh, another little trickery of Photoshop. But I photographed all of those individually to Papa, and because Te Papa is so incredibly organised, I'd send down a kind of a schedule of the birds that my wish list of what I'd like to photograph, and they when I get down there, they're all sitting there waiting for me
Wow.
in a bird room, and I had vision of this particular image that I wanted to take, and they supplied me with 5 ruru because that's all they had. And I said to Colin, "Oh, do you think we can find a couple more?" And he went, "I don't know if we've got any more." So we said, "All right, let's go." And so we tropped down into their dungeon, into their bird room, into Papa, and opened the cabinets. And oh no, there's a couple more. So we had those. So I cleaned them out of ruru. That's all they had in their bird store. But I just love this shot. It's just each of them have this personality, and yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
some of it's quite it's there's some comedy in there, there's some horror, there's all sorts.
Yeah, there really is. It looks like a sort of a family portrait of naughty siblings and
Yeah,
and the different interactions between
yeah,
each of them. It's
yeah,
so great. I just love it.
yeah,
And you wouldn't have wanted to use the same one. I mean, it needs to be separate birds, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a single one in the exhibition just of one of them, but I think that the group is quite something else. It's really great.
Yeah. And
Mm.
it's interesting, isn't it, to bring something quite different to a sort of traditional photograph an animal or a bird, and
Mm,
then to sort of bring that little bit of comedy into it.
mm,
It's
mm.
really it's lovely. I think it will just connect so well with the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how have you chosen the other bird?
Yeah, there's a mixture. I mean, there's kind of this some. I mean, I say they're sort of all endangered, but some of them aren't. Like the tui is doing very well. Thank you very much. And but it's a poster bird. It's everyone loves a tui, and it's got such lovely colours in the right lighting. So I wanted to use a tui. It's one of my favourites. Um, and then yeah, there's a sort of a mix of the smaller birds, and then yeah, right up to kind of the larger birds. There's some that I haven't even. I've got photographs of birds for later on that I haven't put in the exhibition at all, but it's for late, saving those for later. But
Mm,
yeah, again, it's sort of it evolves. We want to try and keep things current, and there's some birds in there that people probably won't even recognise, but
which
still
is nice.
our birds, they're still
Yeah.
Aotearoa native birds. So,
Yeah, and they're so special, and there's something about our native birds that most people really connect to. And I
mm,
love the one of the kiwi that sort of it's a different sort of representation of a kiwi in a way. It's almost like it's kind of coming in from the edge and just wandering across your photograph.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite cool. That's one of the last ones that I completed. Um, yeah, just strolling across, like kind of they do on, if anyone's had the privilege of seeing one in the wild, they'll just walk across the path
Mm,
that you're walking across, um, looking for food, and that's pretty much what this guy's doing. Yeah,
yeah. I love it. It's just yeah, and they've all got so much expression.
yeah.
They're very, very, very engaging. It's really
Mm.
strange because living at Muriwa, I have a lot of native birds in our garden, and there's been two keriru, a pair, who
Oh,
have been hanging out from yesterday
yeah.
on our deck on the rail, and
One.
it's been really unusual because I've barely never seen that. And so they're both on the rail of our house on the deck. And then we had other birds coming in, this kind of dive bombing at the keridu, which was really unusual. I'd never seen that either. And I was just like, what's going on? And then I thought, oh well, maybe they know that I'm going to talk to the guy who's photographed their ancestors, and they've come to pay a visit.
I've never listened.
Who
Yeah,
knows? Yeah, it
yeah.
was a really, really weird experience watching
We've
these
just
keridu.
we've just moved from our house in Mount Eden, which we'd been there for 33 years, and we've just moved to Mahurangi West, which is sort of just north of Auckland,
Ah.
and on a 14-acre piece of land with a lot of it in native bush. So I'm going to talk to the local trapping guy because there's not enough birds in there for my liking, and see if I can get some more birds to show up.
That would be lovely. Would you ever consider photographing birds in the wild?
I have done, and there's a couple in my first exhibition of a tui, which I photographed on Tiri Tiri Mātangi. And yeah, that was fun. I've used
Mm,
as a live bird. Yeah, and also a takahe. I photographed that,
mm.
which is yeah.
Well, it's a very beautiful show. It is called Manu Kōingo, and it is at the Parnell Gallery, which is in Parnell in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland. And that is running from the 4th of April to the 21st of April, 2024. And I'm definitely going to be there. Hopefully, I'll meet you in person at
Yeah.
the opening. Yeah, and it's going to be an incredible show.
Mm. Thank you,
Can't
man.
wait. Yeah, yeah. So, Jay, just to finish, let's talk about the questions that I ask all my guests. And that is to start with, what would you say to your younger artistic self?
I probably would have said started. You should have started earlier.
Yeah.
Um, but having said that, was I ready to start earlier? There's a certain amount of maturity, a certain amount of life that needs to happen before you embark on an artistic project. And I'm not one for failing, so I've got to make sure that if I'm going to try something, it's going to work, or maybe that's a time thing as well. I can't afford not to you know, can't fail. I haven't got enough time to redo it. But yeah, I probably would have. The younger self would have said start earlier.
Mm.
Um,
Even just having more of a practice on the side, possibly to your commercial work.
yeah, yeah, but that's life, right? If COVID hadn't happened, who knows? Would I have ever done it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I was going to ask that actually.
sliding door moments, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And did it actually did you feel like it was always something that was under your skin that you wanted to explore
Yeah,
at some point?
definitely. Yeah, it was an itch that needed scratching it, and it was something that I always wanted to do, but like I said before, just didn't have the headspace, the subject matter until until I was forced to go deep, really. Yeah,
Yeah, COVID was a good catalyst for some.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
And do you feel like in the future, just heading away from the question slightly, do you feel like in the future the balance might shift a little bit and you'll spend a little bit more time with your personal practice?
Yeah, I'd like to make this a lot more kind of viable and full time. Um, the art's a funny thing, and it's certainly governed by the economy as much as anything, and people's taste, but it's also about opportunity. Who knows who might pick it up. I mean,
Mm.
I'd like to see one of these works in every consulate in around the world of New Zealand consulates.
Yes, absolutely.
That's I'd love to see that.
Yeah. And do you feel like you would always stick with birds?
Birds is my thing, but who knows? I could try something. It needs to have a very much Aotearoa theme to it.
Mm.
That's that's important. I mean, I wouldn't go and do Australian birds, as lovely as they are, amazing as they are. That's Australian or American birds. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But to have something that's uniquely Aotearoa, and and the story that we're telling around it. That's what's important to me.
Mm. What do you find is one of the biggest challenges as a photographic artist?
I think the time and the headspace, um, and the creative space, and I mean maybe hopefully by living up here now, I can have a little bit more, be a bit more inspired in terms of being out in the open.
What a beautiful place to live.
It's again just a privilege, a blessing to be here. Um, but yeah, I think to try and keep inspired and coming up with fresh new ideas.
Mm. Which I feel like it would never be a problem for you. I feel like you've got it all there. It's just a matter of having the time to get it out.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that being able to squeeze it out.
Yeah. And which artists inspire you or inform your work in some way?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the Rembrandts, the masters, the Goldies, the Lindows, very much. You look at that, look at my particularly the Huia series. There's 7 Huia now in my across the whole collection, um, and they all have the same frame. That only that profile is connected to the Huia, and it's very much a kind of a sort of inspired by Goldie. Um, and so the masters, Annie Leibowitz, if we want to go sort of more modern influence, Annie Leibowitz again has for a long time has been my very much influence. And so Annie, if you're listening, I'd love to have a coffee with you. I'll even fly to America.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I'll have to
Like New
tag you.
York. Yeah. But so she's such an incredible photographer, and again, her career and her approach to her subject.
Mm. Yeah, I can really see a connection with the way you work and the
Yeah,
way she works,
yeah.
for sure.
Mm.
And what's my last question? Oh, why do you make the kind of work that you make?
Well, yeah, it's to tell that story, really. I want to honor, I want to honor my dad. He's still, he's still with us. Um, and he's, he's hung up his tools now, but um, I've got some of his machines that he used for his entire career still going. So every time I switch on a particular machine, it transports me back to
Yeah.
his workshop um, and spending time with him. Um, so there's that aspect of it, and the creative outlet, and just something. I hope something that will bring joy to others. Um, that I've created something that people will make people smile and will kind of maybe cause them to ask a question or two, or um, yeah, hmm.
Reflect.
Yeah, reflect and you know, even their own path, their own pathway in creativity, or if they just like birds.
Mm.
People love birds.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you are capturing something really unique, I think. And
Yeah,
yeah, your work is absolutely stunning. So thank you very much for sharing your story, Jay. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I really can't wait to see all of these works together. They're going to be incredibly stunning and, as I said, powerful. So yeah, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast.
thank you, Mandy. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.